What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Six Rings Canes. This is our pregame show. It's the first one of many this year. Really excited about it. As you can hear in the background, we got a lot of tests.
It's the live coverage from the stadium. You're gonna get some stuff.
Listen,
Live coverage.
that's the lure of the whole thing.
This is what makes this pregame special. This Blue, a little bit of a different atmosphere today at the Rock, considering it's a 12 o'clock start. It's hotter than Hades out there. As special teams guys are out here getting loose. This is going to be another one of those games where potentially you're going to see a lot of guys for UM. You're going to see a lot of their twos and their threes mixed in with the ones. I think. I mean, there's still competition going on at some positions. So, but again, we're also going to see the return of a couple of big names. Zion Nelson looks to be ready to go for today, as well as Jalen Knighton. So, Blue, your take on this Southern Miss team and a little bit about what we can expect from this game.
Well, I'll tell you this. The one thing I'm excited about is Miami. This is it. This is the last dress rehearsal before Texas A&M. So I'm thinking that, they're going to play these ones as long as they can, because these guys got to really get in rhythm. They have to be ready for next week. And, obviously we're going to see hopefully we're going to see a lot of the second and third teamers, probably later in the game. I just think that they need to go through get ready continuity wise. And that's important. I think it's that you need to run the ones and let them get familiar, with being together for more than a quarter. And, but I think you're going to see, I think Tyler will play like last week, I kind of hit it because I said they'll all play like into the fourth quarter, and they did. Most of them did. I think today you're going to see the same thing because they need the familiarity. They haven't really, they did it in practice, but when the live bullets are going, I mean, they haven't really had anything but Bethune-Cookman. So you got to step up in talent today. You have a Southern Mississippi team that went into overtime last week against Liberty. A team that can play. I mean, they're big up front there. Defensively, they got some kids, and obviously Frank Gore Jr. kind of sparks them as an athlete, but they're starting a freshman quarterback, which I'm sure the Miami defensive line, especially Messidor, who had a monster game last week, is probably. But remember, they have a little bit more of a fortress up front to protect him than Bethune did.
I forget that I'm muted there sometimes. Good point. I think that they're going to be bigger up front, which is going to give an opportunity for this offensive line to, kind of get some of the kinks out, especially with Zion Nelson coming back. How's that rotation going to kind of fit, right? Because we're going to see some moving pieces today. We're obviously going to see John Campbell at a different position, maybe DJ Scaife, maybe some guys in the inside. I'm not sure if Sagapolu is playing today. Is he on the 2 deep there, Blue? I'm not even sure. 2 or 3 deep.
I think he is. I think he's on the 3 deep.
So he might get some playing time, which is good. The transfer out of Oregon.
Right.
Vish, I kind of want to get your take on getting those guys in, bringing them back in. The Zion Nelson, Sagapolu, Rooster, those kind of guys. What kind of effect can they have on this game, and how much do you really need to see of them before next weekend against Texas A&M?
Yeah, I mean, Blue hit the nail on the head with that. Like, this is the last live action they're going to have before, you hit a real opponent, or I guess an opponent where they can actually beat you. So getting those backups work is important, but Zion Nelson's definitely one of the starting linemen if everyone's healthy. Jalen Knighton, if not the starting running back, is 1B. So those are critical players for you that have not played. And they have not played with this unit. So I think that the importance of this game is really working those two in, making sure they're comfortable. It's a new offensive system. They haven't actually had a game with it. And offensive line, a lot of it's about cohesion. So with Zion in there, it's a mix from last week. So getting that rhythm together, and that's to me the biggest thing coming out of this game is other than obviously, we knock on wood health, making sure that they get that cohesion. And even I think this game might actually in a way be easier than last week, not because of the talent. I think Southern Miss is a far better team than Bethune-Cookman, but just they can't throw. Blue mentioned the freshman quarterback, but also even last week they couldn't throw.
Right.
And so one-dimensional running, I feel, suits our defense better than a Bethune hit us with a lot of misdirection passes that were effective and had a lot of gash plays out of that. They didn't do much on the ground. And so I think from a matchup standpoint, this one might actually be easier in that sense. But for the offense, it's not. It's going to be, they'll be a little bit more physical. So it's a good game to get Knighton and Nelson some good reps before Texas A&M.
I think you bring up a great point. I also want to see Tyler Van Dyke get a little, play a little bit more, just because when it comes to rhythm, right? You said that word rhythm. The rhythm is important, regardless of who you're playing. That he kind of gets in the rhythm, continues to gain confidence, continues to learn a little bit more about what he wants to do with some of the guys. He's got a brand new wide receiver core, right? Michael Redding hasn't played, so he's obviously going to be out there playing a lot. I think him and X are really the only ones, and him and maybe Keyshawn as well. But Keyshawn needs to get more involved. We saw him in special teams; he really wasn't involved in the offense. But look, Ladson, Ramello, even Brashard, Redding, all these guys need to kind of get that cohesion with Tyler Van Dyke. So I want to see more of that today, even if it's in the first half. Just him kind of going at these guys, right? We obviously want to see more of the running game as well. I think it's going to be fun to watch, Parrish and Fad, but Rooster obviously needs to get some good burn as well, just so that we can feel a little more comfortable going into Texas A&M. But again, at the end of the day, the name of the game is for them to to not get injured either. So I think it's a balance. It's a tricky balance, but I think they'll be able to figure it out. And just going back into the defense, right? Like you mentioned, Vish, we saw a lot of misdirections. Those kind of those drag routes across the field that kind of hurt Miami a little bit last game. Obviously, they corrected that in the second half a little bit, but for me, it was more about them trying to be uber aggressive, right? I mean, it's a Bethune-Cookman team. They want to try to make some plays and be a little aggressive. And I think that this Kevin Steele defense is an aggressive defense either way. But they cleaned that stuff up. And I think you're going to see a little bit of a different defense, different mentality on defense, especially with, with, like you mentioned, with what they're going to do. Really, I mean, they're going to be running the ball all game. So it gives them an opportunity to really kind of hone in on the run game.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the one thing too that when they say, "Well, we don't want to show anything to Texas A&M," that stuff's out the window because you've got to see what you really have. I mean, whether you're showing it or not, you're still going to show up. And the way I look at it, and I think Vish brought it up before, is that you want to make sure that you're going to get a look at the guys who are going to go to battle for you for next week, because you don't want to go in there thinking, well, we pulled so-and-so in the second quarter, but we'd like to see how he does. That's why I say you're going to see. I mean, that's why I'm almost hoping, for early close game, I like to see them pull away later, but let them, I want to see them in battle, because last week they got so far ahead and they really didn't have to, it was such a cushion. I want to see them, before they really have to come from behind or they really have to fight to keep a team out of the end zone. I'd like to see this game be that game. And then that's why I'm happy that you have an opponent, as my friend would say, with a heartbeat. So, and a pulse. So you take advantage of it. Yeah, on offense, they're just going to be predictable, and you might be able to stack the box on them, and then, because they're going to key on the run. But you don't want to give, especially with that offensive line, you don't want, them to come up with any big plays. And that's what Miami has to guard against, because next week, in probably not against Middle Tennessee State, but probably the subsequent games after that, you're going to find teams that have, are balanced on offense, that could run, that could pass, and especially, and that's what you got to prepare for. So I think if I'm Miami, I come out and definitely play this game like you're playing A&M. Come out with your, as they say, with your hair on fire, and just go after it. Go, and do what you got to do. Like I say, you know what? Let's picture these gold and black uniforms as maroon and white for next week. So that's the way I look at it. But I have a feeling that that's the way they practice. And I listened to Mario Cristobal, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, when he said the same thing that I said. I now I feel like those announcers who are always speaking coach speak, but that's what he said. He said we have to come out like it's A&M we're playing, because we have to be ready a week from now to go to a hostile environment and play one of the best teams in the country. So he says we have to do it. We have to practice it. We have to cut down on all our mistakes, and that's the one thing. That's the one thing that's going to hurt them in the big games is stupid penalties, drop balls, missed tackles. So they have to. I think they have to refine all that today.
Well, you brought up a great point, Vish. Touch a little bit on that as far as the defense is concerned. What missed tackles is not going to be acceptable on this team. And we heard from Mario Cristobal this week talk about how they're practicing better, but it's nowhere near where he wants them to be. And I love that because you don't hear. It's refreshing to hear. He's not going to accept anything else than what he is going to expect from this team, which is damn near perfection, if you ask me. But at the end of the day, I think that is going to build some character and build that culture that we need here in Miami. It's all going to start on the defensive side of the football because, yeah, we got playmakers. We got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. As I see him throwing to Jalen Knighton here now in warm-ups. So obviously he is in pads, so we're excited about that. But going back to it, the defense. I think the defense at the end of the day is not. It's not. I don't want to say it's a question mark, but it is definitely something that other teams are going to key in on, right? Who are the linebackers they're going to try to take advantage of, so on and so forth. What does Miami have to kind of show today against Southern Miss that will make you feel a little more comfortable going into next Saturday?
Yeah, and you use the term question mark. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think if you look at last week's game, the offense looked in midseason form. Everything was smooth and rhythm. The defense looked like it still needed to kind of get into that mode. So, yeah, you want a smooth game where you're not having all these coverage busts like we had last week, and they probably won't throw as much. But on the flip side, look, if the defense doesn't tackle well, Southern Miss will run the ball over you. Like, you got to tackle. You can win up front all you want if you miss the tackle. Frank Gore Jr. is talented. Like, he will beat you if you don't tackle him. You got to put him on the ground. So to me, this is a great test of the tackling. And that's what I want to see. I want to see a clean game. Blue mentioned penalties. If you it's now I'm going to lapse into cliche, but you practice how you play. And this is in a way like a practice game, right? Like, in a way. So if you make a bunch of penalties here, you're not going to play clean against Texas A&M. Like, that's not how it works. You got to the way you play against the lesser opponents translates to how you play against the better ones. So that's why the tackling, being in position. Right. I'm sure Southern Miss is going to have some stuff we haven't seen on tape, right? So how do we react to that? How do we adjust to that on the fly? Because when you play a better opponent, the game is decided by a handful of plays. It's whatever. It just happened behind Blue. I don't know. But anyway. The game's decided by a handful of plays. It's making that in-game adjustment, the players recognizing the offensive set, making that key tackle. That's going to win you the game next week. And if you don't do that this week, you're not going to do it next week. So,
right.
So really, I want to see tackling, clean, just play clean, limit penalties, that type of thing.
And that's why I said, it's imperative that you play this game like it is next week. You can't. You got to play almost a perfect game. And Mario Cristobal is not going to let this team. If they play poorly this week, he's going to let them know. And
this week's practice is going to be rough.
It's going to be rough no matter what, because he wants to get them in that frame of mind that, hey, listen, the Bethune-Cookmans and the Southern Mississippis are behind us. Now we start, 3 out of the next 4 games are going to be very meaningful games for them, and especially from a national standpoint and also from a ACC standpoint. And that's when it gets pretty interesting, because they're going to, right now, last week and this week, they're just playing to play, but from now on, it's not going to be like that a whole much.
Let me continue to unmute myself here as I forget, as the guys are out here on the field getting loose. let's turn our attention really quick before we head on out to the offensive side of the ball. I think we spoke about Rooster being back, Zion Nelson being back, cleaning up some plays, cleaning up some things. We're probably going to see a little bit more today, and like you said, Blue, forget about not showing certain things or showing some. This is Texas A&M we're talking about. They have film from Kevin Steele in the 1980s. So
At least.
yeah. So I think at this point we just have to come out and execute from the offensive side of the ball. And I'll turn it over to you, Blue, on this. What do you need to see? Do you need to see certain plays? Do you need to see more run heavy again? Do you want to see kind of a balance? What are you looking for from this offense moving forward and for this game? Because I mean, look, we can say this is probably going to be another blowout, right? We're going to go ahead and we're just going to run or throw all over them with ease. Either way, we still need to execute because if a play breaks down, there's a mistake that could happen. What do you want to see? What do you want to see from this offense with Tyler, whether it's TVD, whether it's Jake Garcia, whoever it is? What do you want to see them do this game?
I think in all the tough games this year, it's going to be a run first type of deal. Let's establish the run, and then you keep powering it. You have enough backs now. Your offensive line needs to be tested a little bit. And then, you've got probably one of the most efficient quarterbacks. I mean, he could win games, but at the same time, he can manage games. And last week, he managed the game. This week, I think he does the same thing. He kind of controls it, distributes the ball to a bunch of different receivers. But I think they're going to try to get his Rooster involved as much as possible because of the fact that he didn't play last week. And you want him to come into next week's game, at least game tested. You don't want him to, because it's been a while since he's really played a significant game. So I think today he's going to they already know Parrish is a dude, he's going to come to play. And then when they're in close stat, Franklin's going to do it. So I think today for the first half, at least you're going to see 3 running backs. I don't think you'll see any more. You'll see your main receivers and plus, because we don't really have a per se number one receiver, because you said Smith, Redding, guys like that. We know Restrepo and Brashard Smith can get it done in the slot, but you're going to have to go up top. You're going to have to try, like I said, the BS about, I don't want to show anything. You got to show everything. I mean, you got to know, you got to understand that you can do it, and then I think but it's a run first mentality. It's going to be a run first mentality all year. So, because once you establish the run and get those linebackers moving backwards instead of creeping up, and because that's what Miami's going to do. Miami's going to, I think, on the snap, every snap that Southern Mississippi takes, they're going to have 9 guys in the box. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you have the 8 to 9 guys in the box when you have a freshman quarterback? So I think that's what Miami has to do. They have to create a situation where they get the linebackers moving backwards instead of forwards, because that's what they're going to have to do next week. And once you run the ball and then you start getting those guys off of the line of scrimmage, then you start opening up your passing lanes. And I think the thing that opens up the passing lanes is your running backs, because of the fact that you have backs that can catch the ball, especially Rooster's shown that he can catch it. And certainly if you watched any of Parrish last year with Ole Miss, he can catch the ball as well. So I think that's what I would do, because once you start running the ball with them and you opening up things out of the backfield with them, then your receivers are just they're gonna run free. And then your tight ends, we didn't even talk about the tight ends. In a situation like this where Southern Mississippi is a little bit deficient as far as their linebackers and their safeties, they're young, they're thin. This is where you exploit them with your tight ends. And I think you got the tight ends to do it. You have the quarterback to do it. And hopefully today they'll mix it up enough where everybody's going to have an opportunity to contribute.
Vish, does a thought of run first offense get you excited or what? Because I think some of the old school football fans are excited about that. I mean, considering the guys that we have in the backfield, it gets me pretty excited as well, I gotta admit.
Yeah, it does. Again, we're all of that school of thought, I think.
Yeah,
we're not, we're skewing that generation, but I do think that the advantage you have there is it's a lot more predictable. If you can run the football, that travels with you. A lot of stuff can go wrong with throwing the ball, whether quarterback just having an off day. You're dependent on that one. Obviously, we love our quarterback, but it is, one bad game can throw the whole season away. If you can run, that tends to just be consistent, especially when you have as many good backs as we have. So if we're able to be physical and establish the running game consistently, that takes so much pressure off the rest of the team. Takes pressure off the defense. It takes pressure off the passing game, like Blue said. If they start having to play against the run against us, then these receivers that we haven't maybe necessarily seen separate themselves, their job is much easier. So, yeah, I'm excited to see that. We obviously did last year against Bethune-Cookman. This is definitely a step up in terms of just quality of athlete on the other side of the field. So let's see if we can push them around too. And then I think my expectation is we go into A&M and try to get physical with them as well. You get to the dance with who brung you, right?
You got to go punch them in the mouth.
So I think that's the identity we're setting up here. So yeah, let's see.
Absolutely. All right. So
a lot of recruits here. I see.
There is. Yeah, you got a lot.
Good group of recruits here. Being a Saturday early, I'm sure they'll get those games out of the way. This game out of the way, and then have the rest of the day. There's a good high school game going on locally this morning too. So obviously that's going to cut into some of the recruits that would have been here. But this is a showcase game. This is something where you get the recruits here, you play well, you do things, because you never know who's the next running back or the next defensive end, and watch Zemezador or they go, wow, I could be just like that guy next year. And that's why you get recruits at games like this. And if you play real well, I mean, obviously last week, Vish, because you were here, and the crowd, they played with the crowd last week. I mean, very often Miami doesn't get that for just a regular game. And I think they fed off the crowd as well. Hopefully today they'll right now it doesn't appear that way, but hopefully it fills up a little bit more. But you got to remember too, Vish, you're a 12 o'clock kickoff. There's every excuse in the world. There's Texas and Alabama on. There's all these other games. So people would much rather be in that 69 to 72 air conditioning rather than be in this 95 with 100% humidity.
Well, not me and you.
Yeah, right. That's right.
We're one of the lucky ones. But can you, Vish, can you guess what position group Mario Cristobal is with right now on the field?
Could it be the offensive line?
Shocker there, right?
Yeah, there's a shocker.
him, Stephen Field, and Coach Mirabal are just hammering these offensive linemen and these tight ends. It's so awesome.
That's where you win the game.
The intensity on that side of the field, and
shaking hands with all of his linemen now, clapping them up, and listen. Many head coaches don't do that. They're not rah-rah type of guys, but that's Mario's. That's his MO. I mean, he's a guy that if you don't look like you're into the game, he'll get you into it pretty quick.
He's building a culture here. Like, this is great. I haven't seen this before here, Blue, where they're shaking hands with their offensive linemen, some tight ends. It looks like defensive linemen. Yeah, everybody. That's really cool.
It's a family type of thing, Vish. Where right now all the linemen are going down the line and shaking one another's hands, which is the way it should be, because that's a unity type thing, and certainly Mario Cristobal at the head of that. By the end of the day, he'll shake every player's hand on this team, and he's right in the middle of all the action now. A head coach usually, if you look at Southern Miss's head coach, he's just like walking around and observing. Mario's like, he'll work up a lather before the game, especially in this heat. And this is his team, and people don't realize that. He takes ownership for this team. He takes even last week, during his press conferences, he says, that was my fault. That was my fault. Listen, a lot of coaches won't say that. He's comfortable enough to say that.
He's taking accountability. And by the way, just a quick update. First of all, this is the only pregame show where you're going to get this type of information, this type of coverage. Yeah. Okay. It looks like the starting five on the offensive line is still going to be John Campbell at left tackle, Jalen Rivers at left guard. It looked like it was Ja'Kai Clark. They've got Jonathan Dennis in there right now, but Ja'Kai Clark, and then you had Olawushun, whatever the hell his name is, and at right guard.
One of those guys.
Yeah, one of those guys. And the right tackle was DJ Scape. But I think you're going to see a lot more movement as you see Dennis in center now, and you've got Sangapolu at right guard. Now Zion Nelson is in. So they're mixing it up, and they're mixing it up with Scape at right tackle still. So I think you're going to see a lot of different offensive line sets today. but it's nice to see that they're all going against each other. They're going against
Yeah.
the ones, they're going against the twos, and right now the guy right in the middle of everything is Coach Mario Cristobal. As Blue mentioned, like he is right in the thick of
Yeah,
everything.
look at him. He's fired up.
It's unbelievable.
He's fired up.
And I think the other thing, just the names you mentioned, like there's depth there, right? I mean, you're going through names and like that's more than 5 in the past.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have a guard. We need to find someone. You're going through names there, and there's a 2 deep now, which is excellent because guys are going to get hurt, and even just take it. You want to rotate people out, give them a little rest. Like there's good backups there that you can rotate in without drop off.
I mean, these offensive linemen and defensive linemen are going at it. Like it's like serious drills right now. It's not like they're just touching each other. They're going at it with each other. This is interesting.
I just saw like running with the twos. You had Frank Ladson at wide receiver, and you had Arroyo, and then there's Colby Young was involved as well. So they're trying to get everybody involved here, and I think it's that's the one thing he wants to do. He says if you were having to wear a uniform on this team, you better be expected to produce when it's your time. And that's you could see right now as Jazz mentioned. I mean, you alluded to, Bish, is that the depth at the offensive line. We haven't had that in a long time here, and I mean, you could call out 7, 8, 9 names and really not lose a whole lot.
Yep, absolutely. We can probably so let's talk a little bit about this. We don't do predictions too much, right? So, but let's get a prediction for this game. What the hell? Why not? Little hot take and a prediction for you, Vish. What do you got? You're muted, Vish.
I know, and then I went to unmute, and the pass bar came up and blocked it, and I'm like, crap. Anyway, I'm the one sitting at home. My normal setup screwing it up, so I got no excuses. I'm not ready for A&M. I didn't execute. Mario's gonna bench me.
You better be ready. Yeah, you better be ready.
Gotta be accountable.
I'm gonna be the one there. So, so I do predictions on my blog site. So I picked us to win 59-0 in this game, and again, I think the reason is the matchup more than anything else. Like, I don't think they're going to make a run on us, and I don't think they have a passing game. And they're a high turnover team, which is where some of the point total. So I actually think, like, this is going to sound stupid given what I just picked, but play to play, it'll be more competitive. But I don't think they're going to get those explosive plays because most of Bethune-Cookman's offensive plays were negative or 0 plays, and then they'd hit the big one. They had a lot of chunk plays. I think Southern Miss will probably do a little bit more methodical movement, but they won't be able to get those big plays, so I don't think they're going to score, and they turn it over a ton. So I think that'll lead to some short fields for us.
All right.
Yeah, that's for a hot take. You got it.
Yeah, there you go. Blue,
yeah,
what do you got?
Scorching.
Blue, what do you got?
I think it'll be 43-17. I think that they'll get some points, here or there, maybe a turnover and capitalize on it, and then maybe score a little bit towards the end, when Miami kind of in a mop-up deal. But I think, I don't think that Miami's going to be able to do everything they did last week. This is a much, much better team than the Bethune-Cookman. I mean, against Bethune, you can do anything you want. I think here you got somebody with a little bit of pushback. I look back and I watched their game against Liberty, and they did some really nice things. Liberty's not terrible, while Miami should win this handily, I think it'll be like a 43-17 game.
Okay. All right. So, yes, this is a better team than Bethune-Cookman. So, I'm going to go 56-9. I'm going to go 56-9.
Is that 3 field goals or?
Yeah, that's such a weird score, right? But 56.
Not a touchdown in the safety?
No. If they get a safety against this team, that's a problem. That means we did something really wrong. So I'm going to say 56-9, a couple field goals, maybe towards the end, like you said, Blue, they get a little bit more in scoring position per se, but it should be another dominating performance by the Hurricanes on this one. And I'm going to say that, I think we're going to see a lot of Romello Brinson catching a lot of footballs, and I think he's going to be the leading receiver on this team. There's my hot take.
Oh, wow.
Romello Brinson will be the leading receiver today on this team.
Nice.
So what the hell?
So quick question for the two of you before we kind of end this. Does Lou Hedley actually get to punt this?
Yeah.
Oh wow! I think he gets. I think he gets one in. I think he
Gets one in. All right.
Yeah,
I think
Lou,
so.
Lou left last week and went back to the University of Miami, and all he did was punt for 2 hours on the green tree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want to have to punt, but it would probably be good to get him some game punts before next week. Because I feel like next week we're probably gonna have to punt at least.
I'm sure.
I think TVD or Jake might be like, "Listen, Lou, we got you on this one, man. we'll go 3 and out. Yeah, we'll go 3 and out on this one."
Yeah, right.
All right, guys. Well, thanks. Anybody that's joining us now, you still have about half an hour to watch this, which is nice. But we do appreciate it. I don't know if we'll be on post because we do have some post game interviews with the coaches and players. But we'll do our best. Either way, you'll definitely hear from us. And if you didn't go to Twitter this morning or last night, make sure you go. Someone posted a video about their Manscaped stuff.
Nice.
Not gonna say who, but someone got a really cool Manscaped package.
The person's voice is recognizable. Let's put it that way.
No, are you kidding me?
I was gonna say, is that why Danny's not with us today?
It definitely is. Yeah, right. No kidding. Oh man. But anyways, we'll catch you guys soon. If not, make sure you tune in on
See you Monday.
Monday night for the Six Rings Canes show at 8:30 p.m. on the 5 Rings Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at Six Rings Canes for all the latest updates on today's game as well. Vish, Blue, always a pleasure. We'll see you guys. Go Canes.